So today, we're jumping into one of the most famous frameworks in the entire world of training, the Kirkpatrick Model. But here's the thing. We're also gonna uncover a little secret that completely flips this model on its head and, honestly, makes it way more powerful. All right, let's get into it. You've been there, right? If you're in learning and development or you're a manager, you have definitely asked this question. You pour all this time, all this money into a training program. People show up, they seem happy, but did anything really change when they got back to their desks? How in the world do you prove that your hard work actually made a difference to the business? It's the central problem we're all trying to crack. And to try to answer that question, a lot of us, we turn to the Kirkpatrick Model. It's this classic 4-level framework that's supposed to help us figure out how effective our training was. So let's do a quick rundown of how it's traditionally taught. So the whole thing is set up as this very logical step-by-step process. You start with level 1, reaction, then you move up to learning, then behavior, and finally you get to the big one, results. Seems simple enough, right? Well, let's dig into what each of these levels actually means. Okay, level 1. This is the classic smile sheet. You know the one. Did people like the training? Was the instructor engaging? Was the coffee good? It's all about that immediate gut reaction. And look, that's important for sure, but at the end of the day, you're really just measuring customer satisfaction. Level 2, learning, goes a bit deeper. Here we're asking, did they actually learn anything? We're looking for a real change in their knowledge, in their skills, maybe even in their attitude. This is where you might use a quiz or a pre- and post-test to see if the information actually sunk in. In this quote right here, this just nails what we're aiming for with level 2. It's not enough for someone to just know something. They have to feel like, okay, I can actually do this now. I believe this is important, and I have the confidence and the intention to use this back on the job. That intention part is so critical. Which, of course, brings us to level 3, behavior. This is the bridge. It's one thing to learn something in a safe classroom environment, but it is a whole other beast to actually apply it back in the real world with deadlines and distractions and pressure. And this is the cliff where so many great training programs just fall right off. And finally, we get to the top of the mountain, level 4, results. This is the bottom line. Did all that learning, all that new behavior actually lead to a real business result? We're talking about more sales, fewer mistakes, happier customers. This is the holy grail, right? Connecting what we do in training directly to what the business actually cares about. So, okay, we've got this beautiful, logical, 4-level model. Why on earth does so much training still fail to get results? Well, the problem almost every single time is in that jump from knowing something at level 2 to doing something at level 3. This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? People leave a workshop feeling fired up. They're excited, they have great intentions, they intend to do it. But then they get back to the daily grind, the emails pile up, old habits die hard, and those shiny new skills, they just get forgotten. Why? What's going on here? Well, there was this incredible study by Rob Brinkerhoff that gives us a huge clue. He looked at 2 totally different ways of approaching training. And the results? Well, they were worlds apart. This is where it gets really good. So check this out. On the left, we have what we'll call the low follow-up model. This is how a lot of companies do it, right? A whopping 90% of all the effort goes into designing and delivering the actual training event. Very little happens before or after. But the model on the right spreads that effort out, putting half of its energy into what happens after the training is over. So what was the result of that first, really common approach, the one where all the focus is on the big event? Well, this is the percentage of people who actually made a lasting change on the job. Yep, just 15%. Let that sink in. All that time, all that money and effort for a 15% success rate. The rest of the people either tried and gave up or just never even tried at all. It's just wild. But what about the other model? The one that dedicated half its resources to things like coaching and manager support and reinforcement after the class. Get ready for this, the result was completely different. In the high follow-up model, 85% of people actually changed their behavior for good.
The lesson here is crystal clear. The single most important factor isn't the training event itself. It's what happens outside the classroom. That's what drives results. And that, my friends, brings us to the big secret of how to make this model truly work.
You see, if your goal is to change behavior and get business results, then waiting until after the training to evaluate it is just too late. The secret is to stop using the Kirkpatrick model as an evaluation tool and start using it as a planning tool by flipping it completely upside down.
This is the big idea. You don't start at step 1. You start with the end in mind. You begin at level 4. So here's what that looks like in practice. First, you sit down with your stakeholders and you define the level 4 business results you absolutely need. Then you work backwards and ask, okay, what are the few critical behaviors people have to do day in and day out to get us those results? Only then you design the level 2 learning to teach those very specific things. And finally, you wrap it all up in a great level 1 experience so people are actually open to learning.
And this way of thinking introduces a really important shift. Instead of being obsessed with ROI, return on investment, the focus becomes ROE, return on expectations. It starts with a simple conversation with business leaders. What do you expect to see change as a result of this initiative? You define success with them right from the start. So, what does this all mean for you? It means you now have a totally new and way more effective blueprint for creating training that actually drives change. This is your new game plan. Before you do anything else, you start by asking, what is our business goal? From there, what do people need to do differently to hit that goal? Okay, now what do they need to learn to be able to do that? And finally, how do we make this whole experience valuable and engaging for them? And here's the most powerful part of all. When you start with the result first, you quickly realize that sometimes training isn't even the right answer. Maybe the problem is a broken process or a lack of the right tools. This whole approach forces you to be a detective first, to find the real problem before you ever start building a course. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question. Think about the very next training program you're working on. Instead of starting with what content you need to cover, just stop and start at the end. Ask yourself, what is the one single measurable business result that this program has to achieve? If you can define that first, you'll be well on your way to creating something that truly makes a difference.